class. I was like, oh my God, there's Ahsoka images of me that Dave Filoni drew. Oh my God, what is happening? And she was like, this one did not hurt my eyes. And I was like, yes! And I think that is what is so special about Star Wars, is that it's not just entertainment and an escape, it's a way of being. You know, it's a way of life. So.
Let's talk a little bit about Ahsoka while we're here, right?
Okay.
This is, I want to hear about the lightsaber training that went into something like that.
Ooh.
Please tell.
Yes, so I don't have hands anymore, they're mitts. Catch these hands. My knuckles have grown exponentially in size, and I can't wear rings on most of them because of just, you know, it's just attack, attack, attack. Fight, 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 fight. The Ahsoka Tano show. Yeah, it's very intense. I have to say it's probably one of my favorite things, because honestly, talking with Dave, seeing the volume and the stuff that we can create, the creativity of all of the incredible nerds who work on this show, I can just tell you, like, they've got tattoos, they've got figurines, they're spending their time at Disneyland on the weekends after just working all, 16-hour days or whatever with us on set. Like, we're all just super obsessed about this space in this world and doing our greatest job for it. So it's just been really amazing. And learning martial arts in my 40s is wild and awesome. And, for when I first got into this industry at 15, I had long since been told past 30-something, I would be sent off to pasture. So to be, living the dream at this point at 43 is just absolutely amazing. And I have to say, like, I really wanted to do this con so much this year when I got asked, because years ago I came to a con, it was like 8-10 years ago or something like that. I came out here and I got to meet Carrie Fisher. And I remember, like, just goddess, we'd all long since been done with our signing, and her line was still like around the whole convention center, and she stayed and she signed with everyone, and she was such a fun broad, like, just so dynamic and just such a character, and she was just so great with everyone, with her little dog. And, and I couldn't even have, I wasn't even dreaming or imagining any day at all that I'd be, connected to that world or universe whatsoever, let alone that I would be someone who knew her supposedly, as a character, and, not supposedly, but like as a character, I mean, and was just so connected to the whole ultimate story, great story. And so, the Force was strong with her, and, I think she sprinkled some magic fairy dust on me that meeting, because, now here I am back again, and, just giving her a shout out. So Carrie, we love you. And we have little Princess Leia here. Vivian's been here with us, making the rounds. And it's just like, it's magic. It really is magic. I know the Force isn't magic, guys, but it is magic. I mean, unless you talk to Ventress and the whole, but whatever, we'll get into that later. I'd have to say probably looking at force wielding with Grogu, because it was so interesting doing that kind of practically and using the Force, and then someone like moving the rock across and then it going into like little Grogu's hand. It was incredible. And I remember at the end of that, I decide not to train him, and I leave. And in the spur of the moment in the scene, I walked up to him and I put my forehead to his and like saying goodbye. And I remember I get up and I was just waiting for Dave to be like, all right, you're being really extra right now. Like, you're really doing too much. Step away from the child. No touching, right? And they ended up not using that in the scene, in the take, but they've used it almost everywhere else. I've seen the image everywhere, and I've seen it on T-shirts and all kinds of things. And it's just, so that really happened, and it's really, really special. And I just thought how cool that was. It really, when he starts moving and his eyes, and it's the same team who work Grogu and all of the droids that worked on Men in Black 2. So I'd actually met all those guys years ago with the Worm guys when we were playing Twister. So it was just kind of like so wild to see them all again and be in this moment with this amazing little creature who was just so, so cool. So yeah, that was probably it. It was definitely one of those moments where I was like, this is so amazing. I was trying to play it cool because, Ahsoka's cool. She's so cool. But I was freaking out inside. I'll just say that.
Are the tendrils like there, like with you when you're still dueling?
We don't train in them, which I actually probably should. We've been talking about it because it changes it so much, because I have a lot more restriction. and weight that I'm dealing with, but it's still helpful. I try to wear a lot of layers because it also gets very hot, especially because every exposed piece of skin is also covered. So my skin, it's just a lot. And with the contacts and everything, it's a big labor for the body. It's fighting through a lot of things, and then never mind the fans and the debris and the smoke machines and everything. But yeah, the training is really amazing. I'm working with this woman, Ming, who is a Jedi, basically. She was taken to a temple at 9 years old. She went to one. She wanted to. She went when she was 9, represented China for martial arts for 10 years, saw her family once a year over 10 years. She only owned a pair of shorts and a pair of pants, and all she did was just train all day. So she was really literally a youngling and came out of Jedi. And so she'll show me these incredible moves that she'll do, and she'll be like, it's so easy. And I'm like, see, funny thing is, I haven't been doing this since I was in the single digits, so I'm gonna really need you to work me through that again slower. But it's like the most incredible things to get it right and have her be happy and allow us to move on, because she won't let us move on unless it looks great. And I remember the first time she gave me a compliment about a month in, when we had done a little show and tell for Dave with one of our battles. And she was like, this one did not hurt my eyes. And I was like, yes! That is high praise from Ming. High praise. So we are killing it, let's just say. It's really good. It's rigorous, but great. I remember getting the message that John and Dave wanted to have a Skype meeting with me. And I was filming Briar Patch at the time in New Mexico. And the connection kept breaking up, but not before I could see that I was talking to Dave and John in their office, wherein which there were multiple images of me already as Ahsoka that they had been working with and playing with. And in this conversation of trying to say, well, this is what we've been imagining. And when we started Mando, this was always an idea for Dave. Dave had wanted to make an Ahsoka show or do something for many, many years, but he was always in animation. And then when John contacted him about Mando, he was like, not first season, we got to really focus on this. And Grogu, there's so much already here. But maybe if we get a second season, we'll get a chance to bring her to live action for the first time. And he'd become aware of that campaign. Boss Logic had made a really cool fan cast image of me that I had reposted, #AhsokaLives. And, and it had been brought to his attention. He'd gotten the Star Wars account to follow me, and it became this whole thing that turned into nothing. That I was like, what's happening? Star Wars follow me? No, nothing. And years went by, but it kind of been in the back of his head. And, and he says, I'd like to say, it was all right, you can't just put out a tweet and get a job at Star Wars, at Lucasfilm. That's not how that works. But, he's like, I'd like to believe that I would have cast you anyway because you're just perfect with this. You are Ahsoka. And we really work a lot on the different scenes and bringing up stuff and callbacks and just ideas. And he's always just really so great to collaborate with. And, and he's so knowledgeable, and it feels really good to be able to brainstorm with him about this character that I and we love so much. So it was amazing in that meeting. And I have to say, because the connection was so bad, we ended up being like, let's just turn this into a phone call about halfway through the meeting, which I was so glad, because I was pacing in my house. I was like, God, those Ahsoka images of me that Dave Filoni drew. Oh my God, what is happening? They said, if I was willing to come on board, it could maybe potentially, if it works out and the fans supported it, that we could have, it could turn into something more. And so again, just love to all of you, because your response to it is what has made it possible for us to be now halfway through filming Ahsoka right now.
Thank you.
So it's really important to me to be able to watch back what we create and feel like it builds and continues the legacy of her that has existed for so many years. And it's really beautiful to explore and develop and create where she's going. And so, yeah, it's stressful. It's sometimes painful and intense. And yeah, just a huge honor to do. So I wake up every day just feeling really, really excited and really blessed that I get to embody her, because I'm learning so much from her. I got to meet Shannon Lee, who's Bruce Lee's daughter. And she was telling me some brilliant stories about Bruce. So Diana Inosanto, who I fight as the magistrate in Mandalorian episode that we did, that is, Bruce Lee is her uncle. And so I just, from all these different folks, we're getting all these great, messages about him. And one thing Shannon said was, people, you could look at Bruce Lee and see his discipline. Like he was the physical embodiment of discipline. But he also trained his brain, his mind, his spirituality just as hard. He had like 2,800 books, all like underlined, annotated journals with beautiful handwriting. Like he just was really, he's so focused and disciplined and determined and passionate. And so that's a lot of what I think of when I think of Ahsoka. That she's a warrior. And she is, I know she is no Jedi, but she's probably one of the better interpretations of what the Jedi is and could be. And her willingness to just be a part of any world she can be a part of that could be of help and service. And yeah, so it's not something I can just put on. It's something that it's changing my whole lifestyle and how I take care of my rest, my connections, my relationship, my family, my intentions, my purpose, all of that, And so I hope that that's what carries on to you. And I think that is what is so special about Star Wars, is that it's not just entertainment and an escape, it's a way of being. It's a way of life. Can we elaborate on this? Are we gonna elaborate on this? And it was something that was really interesting about less being more in the scene, and it just being in the looks and the gesture, and so much like your father just spoke so much. And I really loved that. I loved that because she was there and the intimacy between them, it felt like they'd been having those fireside conversations. And I think that meant a lot because it left room for the audience to fill that in. Because, Star Wars, I mean, you really got to get into like the problematic issues around nepotism and, like the family therapy that they all really needed. Like, there's a lot to unpack there, And I think that's why people bring so much to it. And so that fireside chat would be very different for everyone. And I love that Dave left room for that and was able to create space for that while also giving us what we all wanted to see, which was have that acknowledgement and have that moment be able to be shared with someone like Luke, who believed that as well. Like that was a conversation we had that Yoda didn't tell him, that so many different characters never told him that your father could be redeemed, because that was important for Luke to realize and to make that choice. And so, yeah, I think it was just really cathartic, I think, for both of the characters to be able to remember that and to know that and to pay that forward and honor it. Is it the Martell sisters? Martell sisters? Martell or sisters, right? I really loved that because that was a big moment, obviously, for her, leaving everything behind and starting to explore, like, what is she going to do now? And that encounter, I think, was so powerful for all three of them. And that, and also, I think, I have my two favorites because I plan on shaving my head and cosplaying as Ventress. Since I'm learning all this double saber stuff, I just figured that would be dope to kind of like put it to good use. Dave was like, why? Whatever, I'll tag you in it. But I loved her story as well. She's really complex and has really gone through the ups and downs. And I think that whole encounter and their needing to even, or deciding and wanting to even collaborate with each other said so much. Especially when Mace Windu and Yoda and everyone else has been now turning their back on Ahsoka to find, camaraderie with this person who was her enemy before. It just brings into the realities and nuances and complexities that I think Star Wars gets into really beautifully and powerfully, which is that it's never a definitive choice being good or bad. That we have all of that equally in us, and it's about finding that balance. And when either extreme happens, it's not the best. And so what does that look like? And so to see these characters and different people make those choices as the circumstances change, as they're pushed against the wall and have to, stand true to their convictions. It's really powerful and really beautiful. And I love being able to see that kind of growth in an animation with these characters that just really so resonates with me. So Those are probably two of my favorite moments. I've watched those particular episodes over and over and over again.
Yeah.